So recently we got a new paragon, the Ballistic Obliteration Missile Bunker, or BOMB for short, and it has certainly been interesting to play around with. A paragon with a low attack speed is a massive change of pace given every other paragon has at least one source of consistent DPS. However, its relatively high base and ability damage creates a new Moab specialist niche that is exclusive to the BOMB paragon. But now that the initial update hype has died down, the big question still remains. How good is the BOMB paragon? Well, today, that's what we're going to find out. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, to start things off, let's address the allegations. Is the BOMB paragon capable of popping a bad in 3 shots? I guess Ninja Kiwi weren't lying. But why can it hit camo balloons? Well, for those watching in the future, the BOMB paragon initially didn't have camo detection, which makes sense given the passive is the only attack that can hit them. But unannounced in the 51.1 patch notes, the BOMB paragon can suddenly detect camo? Turns out it was a bug, and Ninja Kiwi fixed it a week later in 51.2. But I made the majority of this video while the bug was active, so apologies for the lack of decamo. Anomalies aside though, that main attack really lives up to the reputation of being slow firing. However, on the occasion that the projectile does manage to connect, it hits like a fucking truck. Not only it does massive AoE damage, but it splits off into 8 cluster bombs. Twice. And so the top path isn't left out, the main explosion knocks back and stuns balloons for 3 seconds. But if you think that's insane, take a look at the ISAP missile ability. When activated, the paragon fires a cartoonishly slow missile that emits a bunch of mini explosions while moving. And when it hits its set target, the missile explodes, dealing upwards of 150k damage. While obviously not able to topple the Titans, the ISAP missile's 30-second cooldown makes it a whole lot more spammable. Not to mention the cooldown can be further reduced by increasing the BOMB paragon's degree, leaking lives, or placing it inside the range of a submerged sub-paragon. Now instead of adding a second active ability, Ninja Kiwi implemented an improved version of the BOMB Blitz's passive. Like the original ability, it activates upon leaking a balloon, but instead of one-shotting Moabs and small balloons, it obliterates everything on the screen but bads and bosses, while doing 20,000 damage to the survivors. However, the cooldown is increased to scale between 120 and 70 seconds based on degree due to the increased damage. Speaking of cooldowns though, Strikers level 10 can reset the cooldown of both abilities. I'm not sure if this is a bug or a feature because the sub-patches haven't come out at the time of recording, but it's a very strong interaction if Ninja Kiwi decides to keep it. I never seem to get the level 20 buff to properly activate though, but given paragons can't receive non-paragon buffs, it's not surprising. Now with the basics out of the way, let's talk about freeplay. The paragon's low attack speed makes the Degree 1 heavily reliant on its abilities to keep itself alive. And after being forced to use the passive a round before, the density of round 125 was impossible to beat with it on cooldown. However, a Degree 100 surprisingly managed to get a lot further. Thanks to HP scaling, the base attack was able to stall the last glimpse of each round, so the passive was always off cooldown. But due to the seed of my run, the space fortified bads on round 213 proved to be too much, even with one passive activation, so it was the final wave. Okay, free play may not be the best mode for the BOMB paragon, so how about let's try it against this week's boss. Probably a bad time to have the camo boss against a paragon that initially didn't have camo detection, but after doing a run pre and post update 51.1, I'm grateful that the BOMB paragon has camo detection now, because 50% uptime is rough. Now its 600k price tag obviously makes the BOMB paragon impractical to use against tier 3, but I tried it anyway, and yeah, it was overkill. A Degree 61 surprisingly performed exactly the same for tier 4, although it did require some cleanup for leaks. and the same degree 61 combined with a high degree anti-paragon managed to beat it in a reasonable amount of time. I also did a run god buffing it outside the event, and yeah, it was good. But to be honest, it's kind of redundant since most of the damage comes from the ability. I also did a run with every other boss while god buffing it. But to conserve time, here's a quick rundown on how it performed. Lich. Probably the best boss for the bomb paragon. The life loss mechanic can trigger the tactical bomb blitz, making chain mower rounds a lot easier. And the loss of the power glove doesn't hurt its DPS much. Vortex. Stun is obviously very annoying, but when placed a bit further back, the ability can chip it down. Dread Balloon. It may get a little distracted with the rock balloons, but it's a decent secondary DPS when paired with another paragon. Blastopopolis. No. Just no. It messes with ability cooldowns, the rocks reduces its vision, and the reduced range simply just doesn't do it any favours. Spare yourself the hassle and use a paragon that doesn't rely on abilities. Bloonarius. As with most paragons, it performed well, because it's the easiest boss. But the main reason I saved it for last was because it can do this. I know this isn't some game-breaking new strategy, given First Strike plus rejues have been the meta for quite some time. However, if you don't have access to much water, or can't be bothered with the tedium of setting up a bunch of First Strikes, it's a decent alternative for normal. And if I had to rank my opinions on the Bomb Paragon's performance against each boss, well, this is what it would look like. But don't take these ranks too seriously, since they were more casual runs, and I wasn't taking ranked into account. Otherwise, that is everything you need to know about the Bomb Paragon. As I'm recording this, 51.2 just released like half an hour ago, which included the removal of camo detection from the Bomb Paragon, because it was a bug I guess. However, you're going to need decamo monkeys, or purchase an Ascended Shadow to make it usable against camos. But as I normally say, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.